Are you struggling to motivate your students? Do they seem more interested in TikTok and Geometry Dash than your carefully planned lessons? Today, I'm going to share 4 tips with you to help win back your students and motivate them to be the best they can be. These tips are backed by educational psychology and are proven to be effective. Let's get into it. This is Tips for Motivating Students. First, let's review the main theoretical frameworks we will be referencing. The first you see here is self-determination. Intrinsic motivation improves if 3 needs are met: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Your students need to feel like they have ownership of the task, have the ability to complete the task, and exist in an environment where they can get support for the task or at least feel a sense of community with others. If these 3 needs are met, students will lean towards being intrinsically motivated or being self-motivated, rather than feeling forced to do something. We also have expectancy value. When you assign your students a task, they will ask themselves, "Can I do this?" and "Is it worth it?" What they're essentially doing is a cost-benefit analysis on your assignment. Is it even achievable for them? Is the potential outcome worth the effort they will need to put in? If the cost is too high, they don't see the value in completing the task, or they don't think that they have the ability to complete the task. They will be less motivated to even try. The next one is causal attribution. Your students' feelings about an outcome affect their desire to try. They ask, "Did I succeed because of luck or ability? Did I fail because I'm just not good at biology?" You need your students to feel flexible about success or failure. They need to feel like outcomes can and will change depending on the effort they put in. A student's attribution will either be internal or external. Is the outcome related to myself or external factors? It will either be stable or unstable. Or is it caused by something inherent like intelligence, or something unstable like effort? Finally, attribution will either be controllable or uncontrollable. Can I control the outcome, or is it out of my hands? You want your students to lean towards internal, unstable, and controllable attributions. This way they see outcomes as dependent on their effort rather than something else. The last is goal orientation. First of all, goals need to be achievable. Goal orientation is the way students feel about their goals. Are they trying to achieve something because they want to impress the teacher or their peers, or because they really want to learn? Are they just trying to avoid failure in the short term, or are they building up skills and competence toward an ultimate goal? Goals are either performance-based, where students want to show others what they can do, or mastery-based, where students want to learn for the sake of progress. Goals are also either avoidance-based, where students want to avoid failure or embarrassment, or approach-based, where they are developing skills towards long-term competency. You want to create a mastery approach-style classroom, where learning is based on skill building and progress, rather than short-term satisfaction. Before we get into the tips, I want to talk about my personal experiences with these theories. This summer, I applied 2 of these theoretical frameworks to helping someone in my life. This individual had goals of getting fit and eating healthy. First, we looked at his goal of exercising more through the lens of causal attribution. We found that his normal attribution to getting fit was external, unstable, uncontrollable. Basically, he felt like he couldn't work out due to high stress at work and lack of time. We were able to shift his mindset through attributional retraining. We reframed the situation to be internal, unstable, controllable. We shifted his control dimension by creating small, achievable goals that helped him to gain momentum towards his long-term goal. Next, we looked at his goal of eating healthier through the lens of goal orientation. His normal goal orientation was either performance or mastery avoidant, depending on how you look at it. He didn't want to appear like a failure, but he also wasn't putting in much effort to learning how to eat healthier. We shifted his orientation to be mastery approach by again setting small, achievable goals. The goal we created was to develop his cooking skills and prepare a really tasty and healthy meal. It might not seem like much, but mastery approach is all about developing skills over time that will help you achieve a long-term goal. I wanted to share this with you so that you can see that these frameworks aren't just theoretical. They really work. The tips I'm about to share with you are rooted in these experiences, along with all of the knowledge I've gained over the summer. Now that we have touched on these theories, let's get into my 4 tips for teachers who want to develop students who are confident, motivated, and excited to achieve. My number 1 tip is to build a strong classroom community. You need to get to know your students to figure out what they enjoy. What do they enjoy doing or find interesting? You can use this information to develop really exciting lessons that students will actually relate to. For example, something that worked in my biology classroom was presenting a quote-unquote boring topic through an exciting, cutting-edge news story. Maybe the students don't really care about DNA replication, but they would be really interested in learning about how dire wolves are being recreated in labs, Jurassic Park style. My students learned about CRISPR technology as it relates to Game of Thrones. Students also need to get to know each other. One year I didn't realize it until May, but some of the students didn't even know each other's names. Building strong collaborative groups will help you develop lessons that provide students with choices and autonomy. Students who know each other will be able to collaborate effectively, design great experiments, and be comfortable giving each other feedback. Choice and autonomy will be very limited if the students are still worried about getting to know one another. You're also building their sense of relatedness. This is the feeling that we're all in this together and helps the students feel that they are part of the community. By building a strong, comfortable, and collaborative community, you're also going to set yourself up for success later on when students start making mistakes. You want students to feel comfortable making mistakes in your classroom so that they can progress to the next level without feeling ashamed. My next tip is, of course, give students choices. A core piece of self-determination is autonomy. When you give your students meaningful choices, they will feel a sense of control and ownership over their final product. Students might also choose an assignment they feel more confident about, which relates to expectancy value theory. By choosing an output that they feel more confident about, they raise expectations for themselves and start to think, I am capable of doing this. They also might see more value in a task that feels relevant or interesting to them. In my classroom, I like to give menu projects. Students are evaluated using the same rubric to ensure understanding of the standard or topic, but they can choose from 10 different formats. This was really effective for one student in particular who struggled with reading and writing, but created an amazing presentation on sustainable agriculture by creating a hydroponic farm in Minecraft. By giving students choice, you're also differentiating your lessons, which is an educational best practice, and your administrators will love it. The third tip is to make learning authentic. What is authentic learning? We need to connect topics to students' personal lives and interests and develop skills for real-life scenarios. So maybe instead of having students memorize information for a test, you can ask students to present on a topic of their choice. Presentation, for example, is a skill that almost every adult uses in their job, whether they be a customer service representative or a high-powered business executive. Most adults don't remember the definitions of all the organelles, but they will have benefited from having practiced collaboration and presentation in the classroom. This adds value to schoolwork because students see how practicing a skill will benefit them. Authentic skill building is also an essential part of mastery approach style classroom, as described in goal orientation theory. Students need to be able to see how their goals connect to long-term success, rather than short-term avoidance of failure. You can shift student perceptions of their goals away from, "I'm just doing this for a grade," to, "I am practicing skills that I will use in my life." This shift will increase their motivation and help them to see value in the tasks you assign. My last tip is to frame mistakes as progress, not failure. This tip is so important to developing confidence in your students and ties to both causal attribution theory and goal orientation. Having a growth mindset will help propel students forward. First of all, students need to see mistakes as part of the learning process. Their knowledge of a topic is not fixed, and one mistake or bad grade is not a reflection of their inherent intelligence. Bring this concept into your classroom by giving effective, positive feedback. Always frame feedback through factors that are changeable and not fixed. For example, if a student gets an A on a test, instead of saying, "You're so smart," you could say, "Wow, you must have really worked hard to study for this." If a student fails, don't say, "You obviously didn't try hard enough," because a student might have really put in a lot of effort. Instead say, "I'm going to help you find different ways to prepare for the next test. You got this." The way that you frame feedback has a huge effect on your students, and each student is going to need a different approach depending on their situation. Secondly, students need to view making mistakes as a normal, acceptable part of the learning process, which again relates to a mastery approach style classroom. Mistakes are opportunities to reflect, learn, and improve, rather than proof of failure. You won't improve if you don't try, and the first time you try something, you probably won't be an expert. Remember, our students are developing life skills, not just trying to pass biology. The same skills that are going to help them pass biology, like time management, collaboration, reading and writing, etc., are skills that will help them in life. So, those are my 4 tips rooted in educational psychology. Remember to build community to improve relatedness and create strong collaborative groups. Give students choices to provide autonomy and value. Make learning authentic to increase interest and develop real-world skills. And frame mistakes as progress to ensure students have a growth mindset. I hope these tips are helpful for you motivating your students.